Electricast.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Oh my gosh, it's MTP Boston, the Boston affiliate, the Boston arm of our Missing the Point podcast. And I'll tell you what we do here on MTP Boston. We talk about Boston sports teams. I am DK Sizzle. I am here with Rayshawn Buchanan, Hollywood Rayshawn Buchanan.
This is a professional intro, DK.
Yeah, until you fucking started talking over it. It wasn't done yet. It was professional until you got here. You fucking buffoon. He was like, I'm so impressed. Let me interrupt. I'm also, if you can't tell, here with the real BK Bob Kelly. We're here to talk about the Boston Celtics, kid. It's okay, so this is going to be the theme of the show, and I was thinking about this a lot because it's the only question worth asking at the top of your team has just played in its inaugural first ever in-season tournament game. What's different about it? Well, the courts are different, I guess, and the uniforms are slightly different. My first question to myself and to the television was, does this count against their regular season record? Yes, was the answer. So that was the floor, right? It's at least as important as a regular season game. That we have to take, and I think that's a good strategy by them. By the time I was done watching it, guys, I think I'm in on the in-season tournament as a concept. I think that's where it left me. I know that it wasn't perfect, but there's a few things I want to point out to you guys that I liked. And one of them, Ray, you will not have experienced because we do, very luckily, have a first-person perspective of somebody that was there at the game, which we often get with Ray because he works at the Garden on Celtics home game nights. I really like JJ Redick and Richard Jefferson on the broadcast, and I like that as well. I really enjoyed that as a wrinkle, and I thought they did a really good job, and I thought they were really professional, and I thought, oh, is that what we're going to get with the in-season tournament? Where do you guys stand on it? Ray, from your perspective at the game, Bobby, from your perspective, listening to those guys and the whole presentation of it, I know you're up on the court. Where are you guys in? I like the pageantry, maybe. I think they might have hooked me. And I reserve, by the way, just want to finish this with this, Bobby, you fucking asshole. I reserve the right to change my opinion on this. This is a tentative I think I'm in. Because we got to make sure to include that on the fucking ever-evolving world of sports that we talk about. But I'm just saying, I reserve the right to be out on it if it ends up being stupid. But for a trial run, I think not bad. That's kind of where I came away with it. What do you guys think?
I think they could do it a lot better. I think there's a different setup they could do I honestly think, I think they could have bracketed it. I don't know why they did this group thing. I think they should have just gone to the bracket immediately.
Okay, so I like the group system because it's exactly how.
But of course you do. It's the soccer way. It's the soccer way,
yeah,
bro.
But trust me.
So actually, coming into this, I was very anxious to get your opinion on it because I was like, if DK is not sold on it, with his soccer background and how this is set up in a soccer tournament type way,
then I'm out. In soccer, and that's a way that works. So I to me that just says let's go do the way that it's been proven to work.
It's been proven to work, yeah,
and that just means they've thought about it and it's smart.
They did. They did, but I just think there is ways to incentivize it a little more. I don't know how. You maybe do a point system or something that.
Okay, well, let me ask you a direct question about that.
Because that's the full players were
not.
Right?
Did you feel that they were not extra incentivized by the fact that they were in the midseason tournament? But did you catch no vibes off it at all that were different than a usual regular season game? Because I kind of thought it was different enough.
Well, the best thing about a tournament, in my opinion, is the loser go home mentality of it. That's why it's a tournament. You know what I mean? And we do get there, but you're not going home, I guess. But I don't know. There's no penalty.
You're so fucking
for
American, honestly. Can you
Yeah, I know.
answer
There's no
brain?
penalty. There's no penalty for that team that loses in the
Yes,
tournament.
there is.
You know what I mean?
Because
And
you
that's what
don't win the
makes
group then. And if you're in a challenge, it's about accruing points to make it to the top 1 or 2 seed in your group, like a division in football.
Well, I
So,
get that part. I'm saying like once we get to the actual knockout too.
right. But I think that what it does is it says essentially it sets it up as the group is intentionally less serious so that you can play within the confines of that tournament, right? And sort of build optical focus on it and explain it and kind of guide people in and be like, okay, well, who's good, who's taking it seriously, like what's the deal within the tournament.
That's true. Okay.
And I think then you get to the knockout stages, and also the knockout stages coincide with the new year, which is when everybody starts paying attention to the basketball season, who isn't us, if we're being honest, right? Like the majority of the people that are paying attention to basketball, they start in maybe the Christmas Day game, I think, might be the first like important basketball game that your casual fan might watch. So then you start that in-season tournament up then in the latter half of the year, because it is almost a late winter spring sport for a lot of people. Especially when they're not, they got other obligations. It's not a judgment, but this is just what we do. But Ray, I mean, what was your take on the in-season tournament, especially being there? Was there more pageantry? Did it have a different vibe in the Garden?
So, I mean, it was cool to be there as a fan for it, because I think I would have felt a different way working it. I would have been just saying it like, all right, I'm just ready for everyone to go home. Being able to sit there and soak it in. I love the court. Like, I love it. Like, I would love for that to be the court whenever they wear those jerseys. Like, I think that shit was dope. And personally, I know some people were like, "Oh, it doesn't have the parquet floor, and where's Red Auerbach?"
That's DK.
That's like literally
DK. That's the DK. That's the DK impression.
It's like you actually did like a verbatim, and I stand by it. I mean, you can make anybody sound stupid by doing that voice, just for the record.
Yeah,
E equals MC squared, I guess.
Totally.
It doesn't matter how smart the fact of the thing is.
Oh,
just make
it
sound dumb.
No, I totally get that premise. I understand it. I love the parquet floor as well. Once again, it is a symbol of Celtics basketball. So once again, when you're looking to change that, even if it's just for a couple of games, you're going to get that response, and that's fine.
No, listen, I came around on it, if I'm being 100% honest with you. By the end of the game, I was like, you know what? It added to, there's things you have to change to make this game feel different, because it's not really that different, right? Like essentially, like what we're kind of skirting around is that it's not super, super different. But if you do enough fun things, people will be like, oh, in-season tournament game. Like, and then they might start paying attention to the math of that in-season tournament, and it might bring their attention over to it. So I feel like, I do want to talk about the Celtics as a whole and their performance, but I just wanted to know like how everybody was feeling about it. And I think we're all kind of in the same place. Like Bobby has some questions about how it kind of goes. Like Ray, it sounds like you enjoyed it, and seeing the court in person was probably cool. But I mean, just on the TV for a second, I was like, it's too HD for that color.
It's very bright
right now.
It's very bright.
It's very bright.
So I mean, little small flex. I saw the court last week before.
Hey.
Oh, not a small flex at all, actually.
So I already knew
when you fucking peasants were having the court revealed to you. I already knew what you were gonna see as a man behind the scenes. I love it. I love doing that to people. So I really like it when it's done to me. I appreciate the flex. Modesty is an overrated emotion.
I like it, man.
It's great.
Yeah. So I mean, once again, and then obviously the stuff came on Instagram and it showed up. But so we had a chance to see it because there had been so many events at TV this week. So I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, I wonder how it was going to look on TV. I felt like, I'm like, this is going to look better in person than on TV. But you guys saw it on TV. I guess you said the aesthetics.
Bobby liked it
pretty well. So
I liked it. Yeah.
So yeah, that part's cool. But yeah, I mean, I think Boston took it more seriously than Brooklyn, in my opinion. Now there was, I mean, obviously Cam Thomas didn't play, Ben Simmons didn't play. And obviously those are two guys that are going to contribute to their overall success, not just for the season, but going forward. So I think Jacques Vaughn, maybe didn't take it as seriously because it's the second time they played them in a week. But yeah, I think Missoula and company, did what they could to take the game seriously. And obviously, I think what they were coming off of this week and losing back-to-back games, and the sky already falling for a lot of fans because we take every game, to heart as if a November 8th loss is going to be the end of the year, and then Philadelphia won the championship on November 8th. So shout out to the Philadelphia 76ers for winning an in-season championship on Wednesday.
Great throwing shots at midnight.
It's like, it's unbelievable to me, but that's, we'll get into that as the show progresses. But yeah. I think that, Boston needed to win this game. Obviously they have another one tomorrow against Toronto and then New York on Monday. So, they kind of have to make some adjustments. But yeah, the minutes were under control. And I know that's not what you asked, but it's like the minutes were under control. And then I liked how they came out swinging from the second quarter on.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to take it as seriously as the players take it.
Right.
Like they actually said this verbatim. Like I stole that from the commentary team of the game. They were like, if the players come out and take this seriously and they play hard, then the fans are going to buy into it, right? That is going to be the first thing to the second thing as far as the concept of the in-season tournament. Bob, I felt like they played defense, the Celtics. Like I actually thought they did take it kind of, I would say they took it like 18% more seriously as a collective than a regular season game. So it wasn't an all-star game, like level of not taking it seriously, but it wasn't a playoff game. It was something kind of in the middle, which I think is what they were going for. And I noticed the Celtics were playing hard. I noticed a couple of things I'd love if you could respond to if you notice the same things or in those contexts. I like that Jaylen Brown decided that he was going to be the MVP of the in-season tournament. And like those incentives are real for NBA players. Like if you give them an award, an in-season award, like the NBA has historically always tied it to salary. So even if it's not currently tied to salary, like collecting those things, it's good for your bag. It's good for your reputation. And I think that is going to be the big incentive down the line of like Jaylen Brown becomes the tournament MVP, which is a thing they're going to give out this year. And I think right off the bat, I think he like was just playing like, yeah, fuck it. I'm taking the in-season tournament seriously. And what made me think that is how seriously he took summer league. I remember Jaylen Brown in the summer league just being like, I'm going to fucking try so hard in the summer league. And then I'm going to come back a second year, even though I was good enough in the first year that I'm like a full first team player. And I'm going to try really hard in the summer league and fucking try and win the summer league. Cause I think Jaylen Brown's just like that. He's like, yeah, fucking put a name on the tournament. I'm going to come to play. So I saw that. And also I thought the Nets were like, fuck this in-season tournament when the third quarter started. I fully noticed that. They were like, this is fucking stupid. And they're stupid court and the fans are like a little louder and this is annoying. And we like didn't come here to get hurt and we're already beat up. And they just sort of like
they was talking crazy behind. Well, you can't see it on TV. They was talking crazy behind the Nets bench.
Really?
Simmons, you bum.
Simmons is a fucking bum.
Boston's so brutal when it comes to that stuff.
Okay, man. Well, I'm gonna wait. I'll say
I'm laughing, but I'm like, damn. I said they're not showing any fight, guys. Calm down. They're not gonna win. Relax.
That's when we really sick the dogs on them though. Is when you're down and broken, bro. That's when the real fucking.
Yeah, that's bulletin board material though. That's bulletin board material. You can't be getting that bench up.
Hey man, I have an idea for this turn. So I just feel like the thing that I think it would be cool if they switched up the groups a little bit. Because what kind of took me away from it was like, oh, cool, okay. So we're in a group with Brooklyn, Toronto, and the Knicks, and it's like, okay, I've played these teams and seen these teams so many times.
But obviously,
and it's always the same
because you can't.
I know, but like
during the same,
that'd be cool.
Impossible. You're talking about an impossible logistics problem that you're going to introduce. You're saying like we're going to make this in-season tournament West Coast trips for some teams, but not for others. Like, you know what I mean? And then it's like you bring it back around. It's like, no, I mean, essentially you should group.
It makes sense. All right.
In the knockouts, though, you can do that. In the knockouts,
knockouts are different.
It's in Vegas, right?
Wait, they're all in Vegas? We're playing the whole thing.
I think the final round is in
the
Vegas.
finals in Vegas, yeah.
That's great. Final should be neutral ground. Final should 100% be neutral ground. And like that's the thing. I think the issue, Bob, is like I only say this, and I don't mean to mansplain to you or anything, or soccer explained to you or whatever this is going to be. But like I've been a participant in this format of tournament before. And I just don't think you're like fully nebulizing the whole thing because it's a slow build. The whole point is that you build up to the final, and that makes the final sweeter. It makes the final like a bigger deal. Like when they play the Champions League, this is how they do the Champions League, which is that the premier soccer football tournament on the planet. It's all the best teams from all the leagues all play each other, right? That's the concept. Now you're not going to be able to reach those heights because this is the kind of fundamental flaw with this in-season tournament is you're all going to play each other anyway, which is what you're saying. And that's like the thing that's annoying, right? And I get that. But the whole point is when they bring you to the final somewhere like Paris or fucking Munich or somewhere like really sick. And it becomes this like Heineken sponsored mammoth event that's just printing money for the soccer federations, right? So by the time they take this to the fucking Sphere in Vegas or whatever the fuck they're going to do, the final is going to become this event. The NBA doesn't have like a Super Bowl like event. And obviously this isn't going to be the Super Bowl, but if you can somehow make this thing
at least putting eyes there. Yeah.
Gate, ad sales on the thing. If you get more eyes, it's still a regular season game in the slate. It's still one of the games they're already going to play, but you possibly have 30 to 40% more eyeballs on it. It's a fucking genius move by the NBA. If we're being honest, like it doesn't cost them anything and it's got a huge upside.
So to add to that, right. And this is not something about the end season. This is about in February for the All-Star break.
Which
I think
Adam Silver admitted he wrecked apparently, which is so dumb. He should not have said that.
Yeah.
He's like, it's my fault.
Right. I think that Major League Baseball got it right years ago when they said, making it count by saying whoever wins gets home field advantage. In that case, home field advantage. I would love to see them bring that rule over to the East and West thing. Could you imagine the year when Kobe and Marbury and all those guys went off, and when the East had that comeback by down 20, and the East, Allen Iverson would have had home court instead of the Lakers that
East
year.
Versus West was objectively better than this like drafting system.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
They're bringing that back supposedly.
They're going back to that now. But what I'm saying to add another caveat to it, I would love for them to say, okay, whoever wins East versus West, that conference gets home court in the final. I think that would
because that makes the best players on the All-Star teams, the ones that think that they're going to go to the final, play really hard.
Exactly. And that's what you want to be. You want Saturday night to matter again, because Saturday night used to be the premier night for the All-Star. So whether the dunk contest, the 3-point contest, the skills challenge, like you want to see that, right? The celebrity game should not be the best game all weekend. I'm sorry. And there's been plenty of times where the celebrity game has been better than the actual Sunday game. And that's
what is the prize for winning the dunk contest these days?
I want to say it's
money, I think.
It's definitely a check. And then I don't know what else comes with it. I think some people win a car. Like I remember
what happened to the days of like the dunk contest sponsored by Kia? Blake Griffin's going to jump.
I have.
That was all just good stuff. Like I enjoyed.
They also don't have the top guys looking to do it. Like to me, I think about guys like Shaden Sharp, who from Portland, who is that man can jump from here to the moon. And it's unreal. Like you got to get guys like him in there, not getting guys like Jericho Sims from New York. And once again, this is not a knock on Knicks, but Jericho Sims can jump out the building, but he's not someone that's gonna wow me in a contest. He's really good in game. I think he'll catch a body in game, and that's cool. But Shannon Sharp is someone that is going to be a Joe Green type. Mark my words. He's going to be.
They should really make.
Wow. So, because Joe Green, outside of Vince Carter, is the best dunker I've seen. And once again, for those that hear this and think, "Oh, he's
blown out the candle on the cupcake," bro.
Yeah, insane.
So good.
Insane. Joe Green in his heyday, this was stuff that this league has never seen. So
he did the D Brown, but better. Remember?
Unreal.
Yeah,
so,
Joe, he was unreal.
I feel like they should really make the way when somebody signs up to be an actor. And they're gonna sign up to like be in the Screen Actors Guild. Shout out, fucking union getting a deal.
And they sell their soul.
No, they have to like change their name if there's already a guy in there. So people are like, "How come this is your name when you were born this?" And then they're like, "Oh, there was already a guy in like AFTRA named like this." They should do that for sports. It's like your name can't be Shannon Sharp. There's already been a Shannon Sharp. You have to change your name. It's just it's too the exact same, right? Like, can we call him like Shah? Or something, Or did I'm sorry, did this fucking your brother looking at me like I'm crazy? Did the simulation delete the real Shannon Sharp, the fucking tight end from history? Or am I
Shaden Sharp?
Shaden.
I've only
Shaden
heard
Sharp.
people say it, and it sounds exactly like Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, no, that's good. Either people saying it fast or they're mispronouncing.
Okay.
But no,
It sounds too much like it. He has to
yeah,
change.
it's
He has to
S
change it.
Hey.
Yeah,
They have to pronounce it differently because I've only ever heard it said. I haven't read it.
Yeah.
I've only heard people say it in like commentary, and every time I hear it, it sounds like Shannon Sharp.
So think of it. So it's just if you it's I think he spells it SHA.
I'm not the one who should change. It sounds too
Oh
much.
no, I'm just
name.
no, but I'm saying like for those that have that for those that are not hearing,
I can't be the only one that thought this. I refuse to accept that.
No,
definitely not.
Not at all. But I'm once again, they just don't have the platform like we do.
I guess I should read more and listen less and talk less. Whatever.
I disagree. Yeah. Words are overrated.
Ugh, that's embarrassing. Whatever.
Yeah, my students would agree.
He's really good too. I feel bad now. Tell him I'm sorry. He can.
Sorry, Shaden.
I'm on the show to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We'll chat about how hurt your feelings.
Let's talk about the game. Talk about the game that was.
Yeah, I thought. I think my favorite thing. I can't decide if my favorite thing about this current Celtics, and I want to put it in the context of those two games that we lost. First of all, I think losing to the Timberwolves was a Derek White absence issue. That's like how I kind of codified it in my head watching the game. I don't think this Celtics team really is at its full potential unless D White's in there. I think he just does a lot. I think he unlocks a lot of the transition. Richard Jefferson was talking about how he actually made it funny on the commentary. He was like, yeah, like maybe Jason Tatum's Batman and Jaylen Brown's Robin, but Derek White's Alfred, the butler. And I'm like, yeah, he needs Alfred too. It's important. It's like it's an important part of the Batman mythos, right? Like that he has Alfred like sorting his house and home out. And I was like, I really do think that's true, even if he's not like always doing the funnest shit to watch on the court. Because really, what I can't decide is, do I love watching Kristaps Porzingis more, or do I love watching Jrue Holiday more? Like that's kind of my conundrum in the first 10 games. Jrue Holiday had that period where, for some reason, Joe Mazzulla called a timeout, where he was just finishing everything around the rim, like getting to the rim easily and just finishing everything with the silkiest finishes that I've seen from anybody all year, just like effortless. And then Joe Mazzulla's like, timeout, we have to stop this run. Oh shit, I'm the Celtics coach. Fuck, I finally called the timeout at the right time, but it was against the wrong team. Whoops, I was furious when that happened. Like he was starting to just heat up right when that happened. I'm like, this guy doesn't understand runs. He still doesn't understand runs. But regardless, on the same token, watching Porzingis, like new flashy toys and everything, going with guys from the perimeter down to the bucket just with his hand up, and it's like, oh, you really can't at any time decide to go up with that. Like there's no time where you can decide that your shot is available because he's just walking with you because his legs are so long and his hand is up in the air, and that's fucking fantastic to watch too. And I do want to go in depth about the 76ers game, but I wasn't panicking. If anyone was curious, like Ray was like, oh, everyone's going down with the ship. I'm like, they're on track to win the same amount of games they won last year. Right. If you take 5-2 going into this game, it's like that's 58 wins. So we're good. I'm fine with that. Like whatever. The playoffs are what count anyway. And maybe I guess we might want to win the in-season tournament. But how are you guys feeling? We watched 7 games, Bobby. We watched 7 games. How have you been enjoying it? Who is your favorite guy? Are you still on the Tatum train, or do you like the shiny new toys?
So obviously, I love how bulky Tatum looks. I feel like
10 pounds. I think that's on record, right?
He definitely looks much bigger than he did last year. You could tell by the way he's playing.
Didn't you tell me that that was like factual that he like bulked up 10 pounds? Or
10 pounds of muscle, right? That's it. Yeah. But you could tell. You could literally tell by the way he's down at the hoop. Almost every single game he makes a play where you're like, oh, he didn't do that last year. Couldn't do that last year.
Yeah.
I love Porzingis, bro. That's the biggest difference on this team because I love Jrue, but Jrue is Marcus, but a better version of him. So we've seen what that can do to the Celtics team, but Porzingis, man, has brought such a different element to everything that we do, and it's so I don't even know how to say it. It's like a monkey has come off our backs on the entire team, where it opens up so much, and it opens up so much for Jalen and Tatum, and just like they're getting the looks that we always thought they would get. You know what I mean? Having that guy, that 7-footer,
the inside out portion of it
is
I mean,
bro, is just it's night and day from
set
last
up
year.
anywhere on the court and be effective.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Having someone else that can create a shot too is really nice, because listen, I love, what we had last year, but having Jrue and Porzingis who can actually create offense through them when Tatum and Brown get stagnant. You know what I mean? Like, because that was always the big issue, is like Tatum and Brown get stagnant, and it's downhill from there.
Did they get stagnant, or were we convincing ourselves that everybody else on that team was better than they actually were? And now that we have players that are better from 3 down to 6, are we just seeing the fruits of that? Because we were saying like, oh yeah, like Tatum just stalls and he doesn't take over games. It's like, well, because they can walk away from Al Horford, and they can walk, like, at times, if he goes a little cold in the playoffs, it's like, all right, well, we can just walk away from Al Horford. Like, it's not a big deal.
They did it the entire fucking ECFs, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, or we can switch him onto this. And it's like, now that we have like a Kristaps Porzingis, I mean, and we loved Rob, but it's like, it's night and fucking day, Ray. It's night and day. I mean, do you not just think we just have better players now? Like, that's just clear. And it's not that cute. We didn't need to get cute about these takes like in the off season.
And that's why I've shown no panic. Once again, everyone has painted me, and rightfully so, as the most emotional fan on the show.
No, I absolutely don't think that that's true. I think that you're always the most.
I usually love it.
Yeah. I think you're the most.
It depends on the night. So it depends on the night. So but either way, it fits for this conversation. So we could go with it for now. But my thing is, it's like, yo, when we have talked about specifically us on this show, this our own version of 3-man weave here. We have talked about, can you score at every level? That is something we have said from 2020 to right now. And it's now that we are now seeing it in our faces. So I'm like, this is great. And once again, even the other night, they lost to Philly. Last year's team, or 2 years ago, when that team was down 14 with 3 minutes to go, it would have been curtains. It would have been over. Joe would have pulled, or Ime would have pulled him out and would have said, okay, all right, guys, for the next game. But no, JB comes down, hit a 3. Porzingis catches in the post. Swoop hits him with the Bernard King fadeaway. Up and 1 foul. Okay, now they're down 9. Boom, comes back, hit another 3. And I'm like, oh wow, okay. Then Holiday gets a steal. Bam, now they're down 4. It's just like, okay. Granted, they took their foot off the gas, which is why they were in that position. But
now that, like, it was like we always wanted them to stop taking their foot off the gas.
Right.
Instead, they just got so good that they're still able to do that, and it's fine now.
Right. Correct. But
that was their solution.
Yeah. But I want to speak a little bit more about Jrue Holiday, right? I think tonight. So he had 13 points.
I want you to. I was both.
He was so good tonight, man.
Both guys are getting the segment regardless. So if he wants to do Porzingis and you do Jrue, perfect.
Yeah. So 13 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. This is the second time I think in a week that he's been near a triple-double. The dude has been everything we needed and more at that position. Once again, I think when you and I did a show a few weeks ago, DK, I brought up a guy. I said that he becomes what Dennis Johnson was for us when Larry Bird and them played. They needed that guy. Once again, Danny Ainge was cool, but they needed someone that had that been a champion, that could defend, that can move the ball. That's what Dennis Johnson was way back then, long before we were born. That's what Jrue became for Milwaukee a few years ago, and even when he was in New Orleans and Philly, and now he's doing that here in Boston. And it can't be stated enough that even when his shot is not falling, and this is the key. So for those that are Marcus Smart apologists and fans, once again, we love and miss Marcus, for sure for what he did on and off the court. But when you get a guy that literally can that can get his offense whenever he wants to, but chooses not to, because that's another thing, right? Marcus wanted, he was a poor man's Russell Westbrook in this regard. Like, he wanted it so badly, and once again, we love that about him. But because he would want it so badly, it would sometimes win us the game or take us completely out of it. Jrue, in the 8 games we've had so far, because this is game 8 tonight, Jrue Holiday has not taken Boston out of the game. Like, maybe the game on Monday before 16, but even then, he's getting 8 rebounds. He's guarding the best player and taking them out of there. Not switching, not calling. He's taking head
dude,
on.
Don't even get me started about the fucking difference in the switching. I thought in the first game, I wanted to even just dedicate some time to this after we're done talking about Jrue, to talk about the way that we're playing defense now. But just to remain on Jrue for a second, I really do think his impact, and I don't think it needs to be a debate. We don't need to turn this into like Tatum and Brown, like for their first 3 years, like 2.0, like, well, he does this, he does this. It's great that we have both, but I agree with Bobby that he's saying like he's Marcus Smart 2.0, but it's when he chooses to play defense and when he chooses to be efficient on offense is the thing that I've liked the best about him. And I think you're essentially saying that, right? Like, his decision-making and his awareness and his game management are so much more effective. And his presence is a calming presence on the court. Like, his presence sort of lowers
100%
the temperature of the Celtics when Marcus would be like, fuck, we're letting the game slip away. We got to fucking step it up. And it's like what this team actually needs when they're being front runners is Jrue Holiday to be like, it's all good, guys. Just relax. We're way better than these guys. Like, just keep.
Hey, Jonah, roll out, yeah.
Like, I'm not. Derek's not getting
100%.
sped up. Derek's not getting sped up. I'm not getting sped up. You guys shouldn't get sped up either. With like, just don't let the crowd back into it. We already did all the hard part. Like, let me just hold the ball for a second, and like right at the right time, I'm gonna like pass it off to someone. We're gonna run a little play. Let's get Luke Cornett involved a little bit. Like, we can get Luke involved a little bit. Like, dude, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. Like,
it was like, whoa. Like,
yeah, Jrue is something special, man. He really is.
He's like, he's the perfect point guard for this team. He's the perfect point guard for this team.
That's so perfect the way you just put it, man, because it's like, it really is that. And like, you used to feel it when the chaos started to hit. The chaos really hit, and Marcus started jacking up.
Because
threes,
obviously,
and like,
there was something about the team that made it worse. Like that,
right? And we'd even try to run the offense through him because we thought that was the way to go because he was their calming presence. But like, obviously, that wasn't the fucking case. Now you see it was Jrue, man, and it really is like the game slows down, where it's like we get that lead, and it's like, okay, we gave up an 8-0 run. Now we're going to score 4 straight, and we're going to take 20 seconds off the shot clock each time when we do it.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, honestly, it makes me feel so much better. Like, he honestly makes me puts me in an emotional state that is just so much nicer than the emotional state market. It's like when you're dating a girl and she's fine, she's fine. And then you like kind of break up and then you date another girl and you're like, wow, this girl's so much better than that last girl. That's crazy. You're like, I mean, I didn't think there was anything necessarily wrong with the last one, but like, holy shit, I did not know that I could get all this stuff from this situation. You know what I mean? And like, you're just like, fuck, this is so sick. Like, and I'm like, you do that too?
Right. It can't be.
I don't have to ask. It just what?
Right. Right. But that's the thing. It's like, and it can't be stated enough because we've said it on this show. Other pundits have said it on their respective shows. To have a person on the floor, once again, not in the locker room. I mean, and on the coaching staff. Well, even though we now have that too with Coach Lee and Sam Cassell. But to have somebody on the floor that is one at the highest level and was a key contributor, not someone that was an 8th or 9th man.
He was number 2. He was number 2.
Yeah, and at the worst at times the number 3, right? Because Middleton showed up, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I think Jrue. Yeah, but
I'm saying during
this isn't a point to argue right now. You're right.
Yeah, during that, yeah. You know what I'm saying? During that back and forth. But I think right now, but to your point though, there's gonna be nights when he may be the second best player on the floor for us. There's gonna be nights when he's the 4th. That's fine. Either way, he knows how to adjust. And I have a new nickname for him. It's the chameleon. It doesn't matter. He knows how to adapt to any basketball situation.
Love it.
It's perfect for us. because once again, but we didn't have we had at times a stabilizing force. And it's just like, truth be told, and this may be a completely off base. So if I am, just tell me. I feel like he's gonna be whatever we thought Kemba was going to be for us, but he can defend. So remember, everyone loved Kemba in the locker room. Everyone loved Kemba. I think everyone's gonna love Jrue, but it's like, because he can impact both sides of the floor, it's like the impact is going to be a lot greater than we could imagine. And he's a little, because I was closer to him tonight because of where I was sitting. He is bigger than I thought.
He's big though. He's
he's big. I was like, wow, okay, he's a legit 6'4", 6'5", and I was like, okay, wow, okay. So
you know what else I think about Jrue too is like, I know, a lot of people question Joe, and I think even still the players do sometimes, and I do think that is a thing that happens. But I think Jrue's the type of guard, like, remember Marcus would speak up publicly about shit, and he would kind of throw Joe into the bus.
Yeah.
Jrue would absolutely be the kind of guy where he's going to take Joe into the office and be like, hey, let's get on the same page about this shit, because we're the leader, we're the guys that need to fucking get the shit across to them. And you know what I mean? I feel like that's the kind of guy Jrue is too. I'm making that up off the top of my head. I don't know. But I feel like that's the kind of vibe I get from. Like,
did you see the segment when they showed him mic'd up and he was talking to JJ Redick mic'd up? Did you catch that?
No, I missed that part.
So like he's mic'd up for the presentation of the whole thing, and like JJ Redick comes up to him and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "I miss you." He's like,
I did see that. Yeah.
And Jrue Holiday's like, "Man, you look really good in a suit. Like, you look really good in a suit." And he's like. And he's kind of like, "Oh yeah, thanks, man." And like Derek White walks up and like JJ Redick like daps him up, and he's like, "Yeah, you look really good in a suit. You look better in a jersey though." And I was like, "Oh man, this guy's like a fucking like kung fu master." I'm like, he's just like chilling on the bench, like, "Hey man, come on, like let's do this." Like he's fine. Like I like the fact that I watched him talk to somebody he knows and found him in a place motivated by finding motivation,
recruited,
finding a way to get the best out of somebody across from him. Like that to me is like what I want a veteran presence on my team doing.
And think about the attitude you saw come out of Tatum as soon as Jrue got into town. That's when you started seeing you started seeing the videos come out where Tatum's talking about, I'm not directly correlating this to Jrue, but I kind of am. Or say he starts talking about, how he needs to go out there and give it every single night and do all this shit. Bro, I feel like he's a big reason why these dudes are starting to get it. And I just noticed a big difference from the two of them. But based off Jrue.
Same thing with the championship team, right? Once again, we know what Paul Pierce was before KG and Ray got here. Pierce was doing a lot of what Tatum was doing, giving your favorite player 27 a night, giving you buckets, hitting game winners all over the place. But it wasn't until they got together, and once again, even though they all had been to the conference finals individually, but the KG come over and say, "Okay, you scored a lot of buckets, but hey, motherfucker, we got to defend. If we don't defend, we're not gonna win. If we don't hit the post, we're not gonna win. Ray, if you ain't coming off them curls the way you were doing early in Milwaukee, we're not going to win." And I think maybe once again, it all looks differently. Obviously, no one's going to be Kevin Garnett, especially vocally. But I think people lead in their own ways, and I think that's where JT, JB, and everyone else has been receptive to what's been happening. They were receptive even to probably even with Porzingis coming in, because think about tonight, right? People label Porzingis as being selfish and being a guy that
doesn't look like it to me, bro. That's for sure.
So for him to be tonight, right? His final line: 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He got 4 shots up, and they won by 14. He's never been on a team like that ever. Not in Latvia, not in Serbia, not in New York.
He's got to be loving it, man. He's got to be loving it.
He did a lot of work that didn't show up in the box score, though, and I think that like that is super important too. That you're basically in a situation, and look, I want to do caveat this, like I think that we're allowed to have this love fest for like what everybody is essentially calling the likely best 5 in the NBA right now. I think we're allowed to do that. I really do.
They are the best 5 in the NBA.
So I'd say like, because I
close,
do, the reason I want to caveat it is we've played 8 fucking games. That's the only reason I want to caveat it. So one way or the other, like, yeah, we shouldn't be freaking out, but like, I think that like, and also I will also say people that maybe overreacted to the 2 losses. I did have in my head, guilty as charged, that like I was trained to believe that our best championship teams like go on epic streaks at the very start of a regular season. And I don't know if you guys remember 2017
17-0, bro.
It's
17
like I was just thinking I had that number in my head. I really did, which is not fair. I get that. I understand. And I understand that the regular season is different now, and I understand that there's like management situations and all that stuff. But when your point about Porzingis, Ray, I think is so prophetic, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, did we argue with you about the way that you were looking at previous iterations of this team and say like, come on, man, like, don't be so negative. Like, look, we have Jason Tatum. Look, we have this. I think both of us, both Bobby and I and you, were kind of right in our own ways, because if you look at it from your perspective, you were correct that like they were not good enough, and they're so different now that like you can do a victory lap on the fact that like that iteration of that team was thrown out. Like they're gone like that. So you were right that they weren't good enough. And that iteration, that team did come up short. But Bobby and I were also like, I don't know, man, you have these 2 guys. All you really have to do is like the simple thing to put this, and this around them. It was a little bit more complicated, and like, damn, like Brad Stevens, like take a fucking bow. But
take a fucking bow.
Like take a fucking bow, Brad Stevens. Like holy shit. It makes me even believe more in Joe Mazzulla, because that's what Brad's deciding to do, because his wheeling and dealing is so good. But to hone in on what you're saying, like the thing about Porzingis, he's never been on a team like that. That makes knock on wood, that makes the injury situation, it makes me feel so much better about it, because
agreed,
he's a veteran. He can manage his way through this season if he's not being asked to bully his team into the playoffs. And he's just not. And he did a lot of work off the ball. He did a lot of the pass that led to the assist, which is my favorite stat that doesn't get counted in the NBA. It's fucking ludicrous.
They should hockey it in NBA.
They should get hockey, since I know it's a lot.
We've talked about this for like 3 years.
Yeah. But like, I mean, that to me, because you remember Rondo would have been better if he was like not as greedy for the immediate assist and like trying to get it to the guy who's going to score.
Bro, I watched the comeback last night, and Rondo is so fucking good.
Rondo's amazing. Rondo was amazing.
So
and like the fact that if people are saying that he's not Hall of Fame, that's absolutely fucking blasphemous. But that's not what we're talking
asinine.
about.
It's asinine.
That's not what we're talking about. The Ray, do you not think he's Hall of Fame by your expression?
I definitely do.
Oh God, thank God. Okay, I was like, fuck it, maybe now is the time. Let's have this argument. Okay. But no, I mean, you look at Porzingis, it's like I don't want to say he was taking a night off or anything silly like that, but it's like, dude, you just have to do your job. And I want to lead this into a conversation about Jaylen Brown, because what I'm seeing Jaylen Brown's game turn into, like the commentators, and there's a point where I disagree with them. They're like pretty quiet by his standards for the first part of the season. I'm like, well, I don't know. I think this is a veteran team that's been to the playoffs. They've been to the show. They know how to manage their way through a season. They know how many games they need to win. They know what they need. And now Jaylen Brown is also in that position, Ray. Like he last year wasn't in the same position to essentially say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get mine against this guy when I switch it on him. If somebody does this to me, I'm definitely responding. Like there was a moment where he got blocked on. I don't know who it was that blocked him. Maybe it was somebody fucking like hit, like slapped his fucking layup against the backboard. And he took it down to the same exact spot. And I was like, take it to, like in my head, I was like, take it to the same spot. Fucking give it to him. And he took him to the post, and he turned his like basically becoming, I think, a almost automatic turnaround jump shot from close enough in. And he hits it right in the dude's face, and he kind of smiles. And I'm like, that's always who I wanted Jaylen Brown to be. And if you're putting him in a position where he doesn't have to do like intense rebound wars or fucking diving for the ball when it's going out of bounds, because like Porzingis is a presence and this is happening over here and this is happening over here. Can we give Jaylen Brown a little credit for tonight in that way? And can we say, is his efficacy going to go through the roof now that he doesn't have to do 2 of the 5 things that he was asked to do last season?
I like the way you said that.
Absolutely. No, I mean, no, that's spot on. It absolutely will. Tatum's game, he's not a cutter. That's just not his game. He's not.
He's never going to do it. He's just not going to do it.
So, JB, because he's athletic enough.
I wish he was. Sometimes
It'd be so beautiful. It'd be so
Yeah.
beautiful. I just, I see it in my dreams, bro.
One skill at a time. He's getting to the post. So
no, I know.
So
We're
yeah,
all from a certain era of basketball, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but-
Dropping 30 instead of 50 at night.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There'd be yams in there,
But with JB
Imagine.
right. With JB learning to cut, well, not even learning to cut, but having the willingness to cut, is changing his game. And then now, because he's getting ahead of the break, he's able to do that Tracy McGrady one dribble pull up three. And then
he is fucking Tracy McGrady.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, I mean, at times
I hate when he took threes, bro.
Yeah, and then that turnaround shot you're talking about, I will stand by this until he retires. I firmly believe that mid-range jumper he got was from Gordon Hayward. If you look at Gordon Hayward,
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, wow.
that plant.
You're right. He didn't used to have it.
No, but that plant on the left foot.
He kind of pushes off, right? He kind of pushes off, but he doesn't.
Gordon Hayward. That is Gordon Hayward.
Oh wow, I'm gonna have to look at that.
Watch the tape when he was in Utah. Even he had some moments here once he started to get right again when he was feeling it. You could that play on the left.
Wait, but can I ask you a question about designing that jump shot, because that's so interesting to me, because I love that. I love the form of that shot.
Yeah,
Wade Brown is able to turn on the ball of his foot with this incredible pivot.
It
was Hayward like he turns so hard that he explodes off the guy, and he goes back at this corner angle where I'm just like, oh, it's so fucking pretty. I like looking at it.
He's more,
and he can get it up and over. He can get it up and over anyone, man. Anyone.
Yeah,
because he's got those arms.
Yeah, he's more athletic than Hayward, so that's why it looks different, obviously. But Hayward had to be more fundamentally sound.
So it's less of a ball pivot and more like he's sliding. Yeah, I get it.
It works. And once again, and he may say it later on in his career, but I will stand on
it. Take. I'm glad that's on tape.
Until I hear otherwise of who showed him. I look at that move and I say that is Gordon Hayward's signature move.
I love it.
Practice, and
because I always just saw Gordon Hayward as a take 2 steps and shoot it 3 guy. But I mean, maybe that was
Gordon Hayward. He was a baller back in the day. Man.
Before he gets to us and the knee thing happened.
Watch those Utah tapes.
I remember him from college. I remember from college.
Yeah.
I don't think he had that kind of skill set.
He got that contract. He got that contract for a reason, bro.
Yeah, I would watch. So. And once again, I didn't mean to turn it into that, but just I would watch the.
That's what we do, bro. That's what we do.
Watch the 2017 first round series between the Clippers and Jazz, where he abused LA all series. Now I think the Clippers ended up winning that series, but he went off. And I think game 3 we had 40 on them. He was doing everything he could, which is why we were so excited to get him. Obviously, and unfortunately, it didn't work out the way that we envisioned. But but I firmly believe that that's where JB got it from. And once again, I'm glad that he's mastered it. I also think that he studies from DeMar DeRozan as well. I think DeMar DeRozan is the best mid-range jump shooter this league has seen since Sean Livingston, or maybe even Rip Hamilton if you want to go there. But
Stop dropping nostalgic basketball names. We're gonna start.
Can I just for 1 second? Can I actually ask you something? Because obviously the mid-range game is not what it was when we were even 15 years younger or whatever.
Right.
Carmelo Anthony, I think to me that was a guy who, and I think comparatively speaking, I don't think their games are similar, but if we're talking about JB and
I think it could have been if Carmelo was in the right situation.
Well, Carmelo had this bulk to him and this kind of athleticism with that bulk that he could use to compete athletically early on with guys like LeBron James. So when you're talking about Carmelo Anthony, I think in order to not sound like you're a fucking boob, you have to be really careful, because it's easy to forget how incredible he was when he first got to the league, and how he was in the conversation.
He's
for
so good, yeah.
He dropped out of the conversation, admittedly. I'm not saying he didn't, but when he first got there, I loved him. Of all that crop, the D Wade, Chris Bosh, LeBron James, fucking still wild. They all ended up on the same team in that fucking draft class, but Carmelo Anthony, these guys that came into the league all sort of at the same time, and LeBron was sort of on record with posterity being Carmelo's my peer. I love that guy. But it's what he was really saying was I'm still going, and I have a whole separate second NBA career after I blew this guy out of the fucking water.
Fucking crazy, isn't
LeBron's
it?
the guy
Wild
that
he's still playing.
No, I mean honestly, like there's nothing you can say about it at this point. Like it just is what it is. But LeBron is also kind of petty like that, where he's like, I know you guys used to compare me to him, but like we're done with that, right? I know he's doing that, but Carmelo's mid-range game when he would stop with his 2 feet so close together when he would like pull up with that mid-range
so
shot.
nice. Yeah,
But he would stop so suddenly that he would like there was just nobody around him. I think JB is not like that, but I think he has an athleticism that sets him apart in the mid-range because in there you need to be strong and you need to be like physical. Like once you cross the perimeter line, like that's when it's like, all right, you want to be in here? Like, let's go. And there's a lot of teams that do that. And Brooklyn Nets are one of them. They were a little beat up tonight. I think I like their previous iteration better than their current iteration, like the sort of Jared Allen,
100%.
That whole thing going on. But like,
yeah, we would be looking at them as NBA champions had they kept when Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, and those guys were on the bench. Once again, that team it just took Philly.
Yeah, I know it's tough. I know
people just
1 foot, 1 foot, bro, 1 foot.
Yeah, one literally 1 foot, really 1 centimeter, probably right.
Before we move on from Jalen though, before we move on, I have that. Do you guys think that at this point, I think what we're gonna see a higher ceiling from Jalen this year because when you look at what he can actually be now, he can be that guy that you can just go to as a streaky scorer, and he can drop 30 to 40 on any given night. But if he doesn't have it because of this team that we have now, you're not going to see that Jalen forcing jump shots like he used to. You know what I mean? It's so much nicer, this new version.
Well, I mean, yeah, the drop 30 to 40 thing is like, that's fine. And like, if he does that, that's great. I much prefer him cast in this new role as like the floor guy, set him as the floor guy instead of, and have Tatum be the ceiling guy. And, I think it is a good transition into Tatum, but I will stay on JB per your request for a second and let Ray chime in on this too. The idea that JB can like get into the game at his own pace and on his own terms and doesn't have to be like first quarter better, JB is here. And then like he kind of fades from it. It's like, no, like you need to be calm. The way that his game works, it's like, he's a matchup guy. I've been saying this for a long time. And it's like really nice to see it come to fruition. It's like, if he has probably more mismatches available to him on the court in one-on-one defensive situations than anybody else on the Celtics because of his athleticism, his build, and the way that his game is. And I think this is true comparing him to Tatum also. Like, I think that Tatum, there's guys that can guard him. Like, there's guys that situationally can put Tatum in a box if they get the right help and like stuff like that. Well, forget the help. In one-on-one situations, if you put a guard that's too small on JB, he can take you to the post and he can fucking kill you, which we just talked about. If you put a big man on him that's too slow, he can take you out to the perimeter. And like what he needs is just a little time to find those matchups, to like find the people that he's going to bully on the court. Like he's a flat track bully in that way. And I think, Ray, do you agree, or am I misreading his game?
I think that's correct in that narrative about him. I feel like with him, he's always been a guy that can do bully ball.
Yeah,
and that's where he's similar to Melo. Like
I don't like when Jimmy Butler switched on him. You know what I mean? Like that's not my ideal situation. Like him versus JB.
Truth be told,
JB versus JB.
But see, the thing is, JB's thing is not an athletic thing; it's a mental thing.
Right, but like I don't want to get to that position. Is what I'm saying.
But that was always the problem.
That's what makes Jimmy great. If we're being honest,
right.
It makes Jimmy great.
Right. But I'm saying, like, don't like mentally let him get into the game the way that he needs to get into the game, and protect that part of his game so he doesn't do that kind of stuff or switch himself into those positions in the fucking first place. That's my point.
Honestly, I want him to go ahead. So if we do face them later on, or whatever they face later on here, because once again, so I got, how do I say this? Okay, this is a guy that myself and some others wanted for Jaylen Brown draft night. People said, go get Jimmy.
Of course.
Right? Bro, I was so in on that trade.
Again,
I was so in on that trade.
I admittedly was upset that trade did not happen.
I was 100% in on that shit. I remember that.
Behind that, I was like, that's where I was at. Right?
I was a big fan of JB at Cal because I was on the West Coast and I had seen him play live. So I maybe got spared that fate.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. So I mean, I get it, right? But with him, with Jaylen Brown, I was like, look, dude, athletically, there's maybe 10 to 15 guys, if that.
That might be high.
That might be too much
Yeah.
to give. Like, there's not many that can guard him when he's on.
Right.
And once again, people want to troll and joke about the left hand thing. I'm telling you,
He can still finish his left hand. I don't give a shit.
When Jaylen Brown says, I'm going to the cup and I'm going to score, or I'm going to get to the line, like that, there's not many that's going to be to stay in front of him.
But
that's the problem.
Yeah.
The thing with that whole thing is like that was always an issue though, because it got to a position where we were forcing it with JB, where he felt like he was forcing it.
Well, but that was when the plays would break down, right? Like that's when the plays would break down.
And it's when he would start forcing his shot because
but Tatum did too. Tatum did too. You were just more okay with it when Tatum did it.
Well, yeah, of course, but I'm saying like now that's not a thing anymore. You know what I mean? Now you just he gets into that mental state where you see him start driving to that same fucking spot that he always goes to and he always loses the shit. You start fading the offense away from him towards your other three fucking weapons that you have.
We were manageable. I mean? We used to be manageable in that sense. You know, you can manage Boston Celtics to a result.
Can't, but it just goes back to the point that we were talking about earlier. It's like now and not to oversimplify it, but it really is this simple.
It's pretty simple.
We can no longer put up on the Jays. It's just that simple. You cannot load up on them. You cannot just send two. Once again, and I'm really speaking to Eric Spoelstra because that's really the guy. He would just send two and say, okay, well, someone's gonna have to beat me. Someone else is gonna have to beat me besides Tatum.
But he was also funneling. Like, I know what you're saying, not to oversimplify, but like what Spoelstra did, and it simplified it enough that other coaches were able to replicate it. It was like not necessarily. Yeah, you can load up on the Jays, but you funnel them into the worst parts of their game. Like you make them start playing the worst parts of their game, and then what happens is you get all these mismatches on the rest of the team. Because it brings me back to my original point, guys. Like, I don't think the team was that good before we made these trades.
It wasn't.
I think like Marcus Smart and Al Horford and Rob Williams should all be bench guys on a fucking championship team. I think what we're kind of learning, true. Right? Like,
that's 100. You already look at how it's how the what's the right word? The fallout of this is happening. Where like Marcus is on an 0-8 team. Robert Williams is out for the season. Grant Williams is a no-show in Dallas. So like,
no. Grant's
doing good.
Is
it even I have to admit that. Even I have to admit that. So he's been a real bright spark for them. But you know what's going to happen? He's going to go to the playoffs. You're going to be like, Grant, do that thing where you hit those corner threes like you did from the regular season. And he'll be like, all right, no problem. I went 0-15. It's going to be like, Jesus Christ.
And another thing too that you can't understate is it kind of reiterates exactly what you just said is it's contagious when shots fall, guys.
Yes.
It's fucking contagious. So
and
when
Grant Williams was a symptom of a different problem. Grant Williams would actually, if I'm being honest, I was the biggest Grant Williams hater on this podcast by far. He would be perfect on a team like this. We have bench depth issues, especially around that position. And honestly, he was a symptom of a leadership issue that I don't think exists anymore. There was a vacuum of leadership because of how Marcus Smart led, and he was asked to, or allowed to be the only kind of vocal leader on the team. And now that he's left, you wouldn't hear from Grant Williams is the thing. You wouldn't hear from him in the game. You wouldn't rely on him enough in the game for him to just be like having a fucking voice in the huddle. So like all the problems that we had before, because like Jrue Holiday, like for my first instinct, and tell me if there's a physical mismatch that I'm completely missing. But when you were like, Jrue, I want JB to try and take on Jimmy Butler. He's got to like go get that scalp because everybody was like, fuck it. You know, like I want to trade J. And like he's been a victim of trade rumors since before he was even drafted here. Right. Essentially, it's true of Jaylen Brown
every year.
Yeah. My first instinct, and maybe this is not having enough faith in JB and what he can become. Ray, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Jrue Holiday should pick up Jimmy Butler, and like he should just take Jimmy Butler and just be like an oxygen bag on the spark that is Jimmy Butler. Just like take him over here and let the bomb explode over here. You know,
when he walks to the bench, you walk to the bench.
Exactly. Smother him with Jrue Holiday. Is there a physical mismatch that I'm missing? I think he can do that.
Yeah, to an extent, yes. I also saw Jimmy give Jrue and his teammates 56 points in the first round last year.
That's a thing that could happen.
Yeah,
regardless of what you do.
That I was like, whoa, and we all collectively was like, whoa, like, we was like, are you watching this? Are you seeing this happen right now?
Can we agree though that there's huge defensive problems on the Milwaukee Bucks that maybe Jrue Holiday was pasting over?
Oh, for sure.
We're looking at this. I mean, I know again, it's only been 8 games, but
it's not even just Jrue though. And as much as I can't stand him, Grayson Allen leaving is a problem.
He was a defensive player. That's just a fact.
Middleton being selling himself is a problem. Them not putting Brook Lopez in the right coverage defensively is also a problem. Like, to me, if I'm them, and once again, hopefully they're not listening to this. Personally, I
have the solution. Don't tell them.
I would start Bobby Portis.
Hilarious.
For this year's team, I would start Bobby Portis and put Brook Lopez on.
If he start, I would start. I like Bobby Portis a lot. I always have.
Yeah. So I think if you put Portis in there, and it's Portis, Giannis, Middleton, Beasley, and Lillard, then that team looks a little differently defensively, because they'll be able to switch a little bit more, and then they can switch and recover. So I don't know. I once again, I don't think they're going to.
I'll say this as a brief. Just we should do this little segment on the Milwaukee Bucks because I think it's fair to talk about them because like they are obviously our number one rival in the East. I have been very buoyed by their kind of lack of defensive presence and like how Dame is not fitting in. And it's only been 8 games. We're going to improve. Like our flow is going to improve. Their flow is going to improve. The Sixers flow improved automatically by taking James Harden out of there because that's what you're supposed to do if you want the flow of your team to go better. You take James Harden out and you send him somewhere else. I'm out on the fucking Clippers with James Harden on them, but I'm in a little bit on the Sixers without him. But he's
apparently already disgruntled. Is the word on this?
I don't know if I've ever seen him gruntled. To be honest with you,
look what happened when he walked into the locker room.
It's so bad, man.
Walked into the locker room. He was basically like, "What's up, gang?" He looked to the left, crickets. He looked to the right, crickets. And the only one that said hello to him was his former teammate. And that even took a while for him to say something, which was Russell Westbrook. So they clearly wasn't happy about it. That was a Steve Ballmer and Lawrence Frank move.
Okay, all right, sure. But if you're Steve Ballmer, I mean, I know Steve Ballmer plays like 2K, like the 2K version of owning an NBA team, but like because he's got so much fuck you money, it doesn't matter. But like,
do it, bro.
Yeah, same. I was like, fuck it, I don't know. He's
and
it's like it's not informed at all, and I know it's not going to work. And I agree with you, but. I mean, Jesus Christ, how many games have they all been on the floor for together at this point? Like, it's like, you might as fucking well, like, Jesus Christ. Like, there was 2 years ago, they were saying, I mean, the Clippers are like what the Celtics wish they could be with those two guys. The fucking Clippers are Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but that's just like a better version of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It's like, yeah, okay, buddy. Like, they're old. They don't give a fuck anymore. They cannot get on the fucking court. Like, it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a new arena? You're just going to have less people coming to see you now.
I heard that arena is going to be fucking sick, though.
I'm sure it is, dude. I love the Staples Center. As somebody who is from Boston and has hated the LA Lakers my entire life, the Staples Center is the most convenient and lovely. Like, I can't deny it. Like, you show up, you can get dropped off by an Uber, like 20 paces from the entrance. It takes you like because there's 50 fucking entrances.
Bro,
they're
TD's
all well
like that now. TD's like that.
It's been a few years since I was at TD. I'm sure since Ray got there, he whipped him in the shit.
Dope now,
I'm
man.
sure since
the new
Ray got
TD
there, he
is
whipped him in the
pretty
shit.
sick.
I'm not saying that you're not running a great shop over there.
Hey,
I'm not saying that. All right. But I'm just saying, of course, it's blasphemous. It's blasphemous. But I will say this: every time I've exited the TD Garden, I was in a new part of Boston that I'd never seen before, and I've exited the TD Garden. So how many exits actually are there, and where do they lead?
You remember how? Remember you always used to exit.
Strange place.
You always used to exit in construction tunnels lined with warning tape and
I think when they were building
everywhere.
When they were building it, they shouldn't have used the Narnia doors. They shouldn't have fucking decided to buy the doors from the fucking closet in Narnia, because every time you walk out, you're like, this is not a place in Boston I've been to before. And I've lived here my whole fucking life. So that's cool. But like, whatever. All things being equal, we have to dedicate a little bit of time to Jason Tatum. I think the most encouraging thing about his game, the maturity, sure, in his like sort of frame and like how he's coming to the game physically, but also I think there's and this might be just my brain connecting dots. Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Jason Tatum that has a goose egg in the first quarter, like he does tonight, has another goose egg in the second quarter, like 1 to 2 to 3 years ago. But this year, with this iteration of the team, he has a goose egg in the first quarter. JB has a big quarter. And then the second quarter, he scores 13 points in like what felt like 1.6 seconds. Like he scores 13 points in absolutely no time flat in the second quarter. And then he continues to just hit big shots for the remainder of the game. And I think that is like what we were all just waiting. Like you weren't waiting at this point for him to add another thing to his game, like going to the hoop a certain way or like finishing a certain way or scoring at all three levels that Ray's like always been banging the drum about like for the last 3 years now. What you were waiting for is like his final iteration as like a mature veteran player to say like, I know how to manage myself through a game. I know when to apply my game. And I know that if I score no points in the first quarter, I can go and score 13 in like 2 seconds in the second, right? Like, I think that's the kind of the ceiling of what we're seeing from him this season. Or did I miss it? Had that already happened? And I maybe wasn't paying attention. And it only counts for the playoffs anyway, I guess. But like, what are we doing here?
I think a lot of the times what we saw in the past is like he would start forcing the issue because he had to. Because if he had one of those quarters, the Celtics weren't in their
same
rhythm.
thing as JB.
The Celtics weren't playing their game.
Saying earlier,
right? Exactly, and it started to get stagnant, and like bad things start happening. Marcus start jack, but now, man, he can let the game come to him because the Celtics offense
like
is already flowing. Things are already moving. One of the best things
about his rookie year is how much he let the game come to him.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And now things are moving, and it's not all about JT initiating every single play. It's not about, what is JT going to do on this specific play? No, we're going to run a play, which is a cool new concept that we do
have plays now.
We have plays. We're going to run a play and do this screen for Porzingis over here. And then we're going to do this, switch up top with Jrue. And then hopefully that opens up Tatum over here. If not, we have a Brown on the backside. You know what I mean? And it's just, there's so much more nuance to this team that it sets Tatum up, I think, to get in those rhythms. And it's the same thing with Brown, man. It goes hand in hand where it's like, they don't need to set up their own rhythm and get hot anymore. It's starting to be set up for them. You know what I mean? And those looks are there for them to take,
when they're going to have an impact on the game.
Right. And it's such a more leisurely, so different. Yeah.
Which is more, it's so important for the regular season too. Ray, I mean, what did you make of Tatum tonight in person? Do you notice any differences?
So this is more of a funny point before I get into that. So where I was sitting at, obviously, like you said, you just mentioned Tatum had 0 in the first quarter and even a little bit into the second quarter. So this guy, about 2 guys behind me, had a parlay for him to get over 27 points. So he's at 0 for the first 10 to 12 minutes, and it's just like, yo, like, what the fuck's going on, man? Like, it's crazy. So the running joke all night, I turned back to him. I'm like, hey guys, we're winning the game. He's a team player. So we're laughing about that. So every time you got a rebound, I'm like, that's rebound number 5. He's a team player. Oh, he just passed it to JB. He's a team player. So they was like, man, fuck the team player. We're trying to get him to 27 points so I can get $1,000 tonight. Those I feel you. So
I just like 27.
No, he got 23 tonight. So yeah, 23. But once again, 23 points, 10 rebounds. Once again, that with him. In years past, it would have been 14 points, maybe 6 rebounds, 2 assists. But he's always, and I can credit Eddie House with this point because he's right on about this. Whenever Tatum is getting 8 rebounds or more, he's usually engaged in the game. Whether he's scoring,
I love it when Tatum is rebounding, man.
Whether he's scoring a lot or not, right? So I think that second quarter where, like you said, and you're right, Dave, because I went to get I looked down to grab like my shirt that they gave us or whatever. I looked up and it was like JT43. I checked my messages about something. JT43. Timeout, Brooklyn. I'm like, oh, I was like, what happened? Like this
it happened in a flash.
90 seconds. So it's a beautiful thing to watch. Also too, and this is credit to Joe Mazzulla, whoever came up with this idea.
we don't give credit to Joe Mazzulla on this
to have Tatum. Yeah, I know it's hard to relinquish that.
I mean, I thought he sucked tonight. Also, I thought he was all right in a couple other games, but I thought he sucked tonight. If you wanted to talk about it, we can. But
no. I'm saying just for this. I say if he's the one that's doing this, the sub pattern that he has for Tatum, far as coming in with the second unit and just letting Tatum run the offense or whatever. I love that. Honestly, I think that's great. I think that's a way to get Tatum freed up and have someone that can't really guard him, or really most people can't guard him, but there's definitely not anyone on the second unit that can guard him, especially on Brooklyn. Once again, the only person that could remotely guard Tatum was in street clothes tonight. His name was Ben Simmons. So that was cool.
Guard Jason Tatum.
During Finney Smith tried, and once again, during Finney Smith is a very good defender. I would love to have him here if there was ever a chance to grab him. But it's like he tried. But we have a thing that my grandma used to say. But bless his heart, like bless his heart. And it's just like, dude, like you don't have a shot. And once Tatum caught fire, then it trickled down to others. And once again, Hauser was great. Pritchard was great tonight. There was a rebound that Pritchard got, I think, in
the offensive rebound is off his own free throw.
Yeah, and I was just like, bro, like what? Where was this? And he got a pretty high for it. It wasn't
Brooklyn was like,
he can rebound, bro. Pritchard can rebound, but Pritchard.
Let's not start this, Bobby, for Christ's sake.
All right.
No,
I don't like Pritchard this year.
You're right, Bobby. But he is someone that has the nose for the ball.
He's sneaky, bro. He sneaks in there on those offensive rebounds
for a guy his size. Like I remember, like his rookie year. Once again, we're always going to
Miami Heat, bro. The Heat play, bro. Come on.
To put back in.
The Heat is the last team that Pritchard can play against in the playoffs of all the teams we're going to see in the playoffs.
Very true.
They're literally going to switch on him so hard, and he's just going to get murdered. He's such a defensive liability in the playoffs. It's so disastrous.
But,
he's incredibly streaky. He's like streaky like players used to be able to be allowed to be when they were like, it was like 2004.
What's beautiful about this team, though, right, is we have the ability now to let guys be streaky. And that wasn't a thing that we had before.
Well, you're also talking about the start of the regular season, Bob. Like,
I know.
Are you not a little concerned about the depth on the bench? Like, we have to do something, no?
I am a little bit concerned. I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, when you have the setup like Ray just said, when you have a guy like JT out there trying to be the field general for that second unit, once those shots start falling, they usually don't stop for guys like that. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's enough offense.
I think that I would take that point, and I think that's a correct point, but I would apply it to Sam Hauser before I would apply it to Peyton Pritchard personally. Yeah, I think I like Sam Hauser's shot.
That's facts.
I like Sam Hauser's shot. I like that he takes shots. I like that and we haven't seen a lot of examples of this, but I have an inclination that he's more likely to sink a three if the situation is bigger than Sam Hauser shooting a three calls for. And like there was a couple moments when he shot a three where I'm like, he caught and shot that so confidently that like I want to believe that like if he caught the ball in a situation where he shouldn't have the ball in like a big moment where like he shouldn't,
he did it last year.
Went wrong, and
the Milwaukee game last year.
Yeah, but I'm talking about doing it on a team that has genuine championship aspirations, and not because we ran out of options.
You're talking like Robert Horry ended up with the ball at the top of the three line.
And not because we ran out of options and we were like, Sam Hauser, can you bail us out? That's not a situation I accept from the current iteration of the Celtics. Like, I don't accept that at all. But if for some reason we got into a situation where Sam Hauser got the ball and it was like, it wasn't against the run of play. Like it was fine that he got the ball and he just was like, I'm fucking Sam Hauser, motherfucker. And he just sunk a three that was like 2 steps away from the 3-point line, like a Steph Curry three. I could see
hits
it.
It hard.
It buries it, like just hits off the back of the, and just goes in.
Those are the best ones.
Also,
those are the best
I also will say this about Sam Hauser. I don't see him as much of a defensive liability in a decent scheme.
He can get in front of people. Yeah, he can get in front of people.
I see Peyton Pritchard as a always defensive liability.
Can I just I think Pritchard has been the worst player of our regulars so far this season, and I don't think it's that close.
He's good when it doesn't count. That's like I think him and Hauser are like the opposite.
He's rough. When the offense is running through him, it's very noticeable. There's so much more shakiness, and yeah, I don't like it when Pritchard is the guy out there. I'm not a big fan.
Pritchard Ray?
However, the other Cornet man tonight shut me the fuck up because I had a whole thing prepared.
It's one game.
I know, but I had a whole thing prepared. How that's the biggest. That's the biggest downfall, or could be the biggest downfall of this team, is the fact that Porzingis and Horford are what we're relying on for our front court, which I get. It's awesome right now, but man, Al Horford is a liability.
He's 37.
Hey, we need you, baby. We need you, Blake. Come back.
We need something, man. If Cornet can do what he did tonight, awesome. But it was just funny because I saw him out on the floor, and I'm like, listen, Al's out, and our answer is to play Cornet significant minutes. I get that it's game 8, but game 6 is it.
I will also just let you know that like Brooklyn was unable to rebound the ball tonight. Like the fact that to me, it's like Luke Cornet rebounding the ball tonight well, or like playing well around the rim tonight, was a clear indication that they were even more beat up than we were around the rim, and Cornet was able to make plays. I'm not taking anything away from the guy. I think it's all fun and games when he's in there. I don't think that Ray, am I crazy? Can Luke Cornet really be that guy?
You're not crazy.
No, I firmly believe that he should not be out there unless it's a 30-point lead, or he's a spot starter or whatever like that. Fine. But once again, if you're gonna give me 8-4, 8-5, that's gold. Yeah, that's great. Fine. So I will.
That was tonight though, and I think tonight was his ceiling. Is my concern.
Yeah, the other night he had 11-5. I think it's I forget, he had 11-5 against somebody else the other night. I forget, but
if he gets going, he can play, man. But it's
so he once again, I think with him, like defensively, obviously, like I say, he's not going to be that guy defensively. We know that. But he is someone that knows how to move in the pick and roll, and they know how to find him. They find him. And
do we run the pick and roll? Like, do we really?
Yeah. But with him, he runs it like him and Jrue run.
But do we run like kind of like a fake pick and roll? Like sometimes when the bench guys are out there, that's not like I thought we were calling for like Porzingis and someone, and I haven't really seen.
I'm talking about the bench right now, but no, I've seen Holiday run it with a few people.
They run pick and rolls.
Yeah,
screen after screen.
It's like a very soft pick and roll. I don't love how we do it.
Well, because
I know I'm nitpicking at this point. I am nitpicking at this point.
No, but it's fine. There's only a small sample size to speak of.
Yeah.
The more so I'll emphasize on Porzingis, like he's setting the screen at the top of the key, but then if he sees the guy that's in the corner that's guarding either JB or Tatum for that matter, as soon as he sees that guy come sag off, he's catching it. He's catching.
It's beautiful, man.
He's finding whoever in the corner.
But that's the thing.
We said this when he got traded. We was like, the most underrated part of his game wasn't the offense, or it was his passing. Yeah. And he's already shown a few times that he works very well out the double team.
Yeah.
He works very well in the mid post. So my thing is, that's the zone buster right there. When teams keep working zone, so that's Miami.
Yeah.
Some like to run zone. You put Porzingis in the middle, and you let whoever that guy draws off, comes off the double, comes off the corner. You find him in the corner, or you drive to the basket to get.
Yeah. And you remember when in the
when he fades into the corner too.
I like that too,
when he does that shit.
I think something that Ray just said is important too. Like the way he catches the ball, is like a possession based catch. Like he covers it and catches it in a sense where he's like, I have the ball here right now, and I'll either release because he's got a quicker release than you would expect when he's in certain positions, and it's obviously an incredibly tall release, so it doesn't really matter if anyone's switching to him. Like he only needs like. It's kind of like, it's a little bit like Tatum. Like he only needs like a half a step to basically have like stretch on you, right? To get a clean look at the basket. But I used to call it, this was literally not a thing that people said. It was just a thing I used to say. Do you remember when KG would take the low post and Rondo would kind of like sky kick it into him to start off like an offensive set where like he would be like close to the elbow.
That was a design play.
Yeah. But like I used to call it our kindergarten setup because it was always the thing we did when we like weren't in a flow and we had to like restart. So Rondo would take it over to the corner and he would just like watch for whoever would kind of come to him to play defense, and then he would just like knock it over their head.
Yeah.
KG would take it high, right? He would take it super high where he was almost daring the guy who, towards the end of his career, no one was really, or towards the end of his prime, I should say, nobody was really trying this on, but he would take it high to be like, go try to get it. Like he would dare the person guarding behind him to go try to get it because they would already have to be on him because he was like such a weapon down there. And then it was either he would look around, he would take it to the chest, he would look around and he would say, I can dish it this way or I can dish it this way. Or if the play breaks down because we're in our kindergarten set, I'll just turn around and probably hit a fucking just disgusting fucking turnaround jump shot right.
That open leg
just
jumper
like,
that he had,
disgusting.
bro.
Like I just, like I'm just gonna show you my whole nutsack when I turn around for this fucking.
It was so beautiful.
Shot. Like you just have to look at every fucking wrinkle on my nutsack when I turn around for this jump shot. And I'm gonna say something when we're walking away. Now, listen, I mean, I don't mean to wax lyrical about KG and his nutsack, but what I love about Porzingis, it's not that. It's not that. Like KG and like in the elbow was like one of the most elite power forwards to ever do that. The only person who can really have anything to say about that situation was Tim Duncan. Right. And we're not talking about that right now. What we're talking about is like Porzingis has that kind of catch where I'm like, okay, the ball's there now. Like it's there. It's established in that place that Porzingis is. And that makes his playmaking so much easier because he's so possession based. Is that something you guys have noticed also? Like that, I think it opens up playmaking from the elbow. Like the Nuggets have that, and it won them a fucking championship.
Well,
I'm not saying he's Jokic, but
you think about it all goes back to that same point, man, where it's like the defense when Porzingis gets it at the elbow, all five guys, their eyes are on him. Yeah, you know what I mean? All five guys' eyes are on him. And that takes their eyes off of Tatum, takes the eyes off of Brett. It creates so much more just having
the length also
that presence there.
It limits their defensive vision. Like the length that we bring, once we get length inside, like they can't see past him. Like I can't see past him, and I have like this angle from the TV. Where were your seats, Ray? Like what height were you looking at him from?
I was in row 6. So I was pretty close to the floor.
So you were
shit.
You were camera height though. You were basically camera height.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is like prime. It's like that they chose the cameras to be there for a reason, right?
Exactly.
So like, but do you think that like you can see guys that are smaller? And I think Brooklyn looked small tonight. Like we made them look incredibly small. Because do you think that has an impact?
They have a bunch of perimeter guys. So a lot of the guys, I mean, and
they had nobody that could like cause any sort of screening.
6'7" is not small, but obviously when you're 7'3", obviously that's nothing. But I want to go a step further just to give the listeners a more concrete idea of
immersive experience.
Yeah. So
put your VR headsets on, everybody.
Right, exactly. So the Washington game right now, listen, no one's going to accuse Washington of being this phenomenal defensive team. They even weren't phenomenal with John Wall and Bradley Beal as defensively. Like they weren't. They were okay, but they weren't someone that was.
Yeah, those shootouts with Isaiah Thomas were like 138 to 135. Exactly. Or
those are fun. Those are fun.
But they were like not defensive showcases by any means.
There was a play in that game, and we actually screenshotted it and shared it on our Twitter X page. There was a play where Porzingis was on the left side of the floor. He gets an entry pass into the post. Immediately, Kuzma, who was guarding Tatum in the short corner, comes over to double. Now, on that play, for those that's watching on YouTube or you're listening on audio, you're supposed to show on the double, and then give back to your man. But you can't do that. This guy's 7'3". It's an automatic 2. So what does Kuzma do? He says, I'm in no man's land. He comes in, he shows on the double. He comes to double KP. KP says, oh, this guy that gets 32 a night is in the right corner. Let me just skip past it over to him.
Because I can go over everybody. Because no one's switching to me. No one's switching to me that's taller than me. Right. So I can go over fucking everybody whenever I want. I mean, we say this about quarterbacks in the NFL all the time. Like, why was Drew Brees so impressive? Because like he must have been guessing around some of those fucking 6'7".
You ever seen what it looks like for a short quarterback behind the line?
That shit is insane. I don't know. Understand how they even make it happen.
It's wild.
So what Ray's saying is so correct, because equally the opposite is true. If you're up there, it's fucking easy as shit. Like the viewing angle from where Porzingis is, and also not for nothing, but he's not looking around at the 2016 New York Knicks. He's looking around at Jason Tatum in the corner, wide open. He's looking around at Jaylen Brown making a cut from the elbow. He's looking at fucking Jrue Holiday, has shaken his man across like 2 screens, and he's like coming around the corner to help him out if he needs to. It's fucking beautiful to watch. Yeah. Honestly, it's beautiful.
Even and another example, right? And this is more of a Denver Nuggets type play. I think Scott brought it up in the broadcast. There was a play where he also caught at the top of the key. He did like a pivot / screen into Jaylen Brown's man. Pivot like how Jokic usually pivots. Brown was able to come off the curl, was wide open. He laid it to him. Brown gets the dunk. I was like, we didn't have this. And once again, Rob Williams showed us that at times, but he didn't show us that enough because that was underrated.
Rob Williams is full on having surgery.
But it was like
he's done, bro. Did we just straight up fleece the Blazers? Did we know how damaged?
I wouldn't say fleece because once again, we knew and everyone knew of his injury history.
Yeah, Jrue wasn't staying there.
Rob Williams would have a 10-year career at least because someone's always going to say, "Well, what if? Like, what if? The man could jump out the building. He's
been there. So been there.
It's going to be actually. Matter of fact, I'm going to say this right now. I bet you he's back here within the next 2 years. I bet you Rob Williams is going to be on.
We do love to recycle our bigs. We do love to do that.
From Warfare to Tice, I'm telling you, Rob Williams, and once again, he won't have to start. Just say, hey, we need you for 30 games. That's right in his warehouse. He'll be here in 2 years. Within 2 years, he'll be back.
It'd be great to have him still actually looking at the bench.
And he won't even be 30 yet, so it fits the timeline.
He'll be a lot slower, and his jumping ability will not be.
That's okay.
But hopefully, he'll be able to turn himself into something else because once he has that surgery, with the way that he's bounced back from other injuries, once he's had that surgery, I would be very, very reticent to think that he could get back to the same place he's gone to before.
He'll never be 2019 Rob again ever. Like that would never.
But what we're essentially saying then is that we sold on him at his peak. Essentially,
we sold high on him and Marcus,
we sold so high on Marcus. Like Marcus is never going to be as good as he was when he won Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean, can I give you the Denzel Washington meme from Training Day?
Please.
Wait, bro.
Like, hey, sorry.
What's so amazing about it too is
Antonio
like
Banderas,
everything we loved about Rob. And everything we loved about Marcus, right? They made our defense what it was. They did this. They were the heart of the team, whatever it was. These guys do it too. And they do it better. That's what like with Kristaps, man, is like I thought we were getting an offensive big. This guy is so underrated defensively and what he does defensively I think he might be more effective at least more efficient defensively than Rob ever was, man. I
still think it's presence. I really still think that
Rob was different.
Presence has changed so drastically.
It's different though because Rob was all about being athletic and getting the big block and like there was nothing ever safe. Kristaps is just a presence around the rim at all times, and you have to respect him no matter what.
If
inside that key,
if I could be DK for a moment and get into his mind and nitpick, because I feel like he was just something he would say. If I'm going to nitpick, he gets in foul trouble too often for my liking, and that's happening too much already.
You think that? I think I've noticed that too.
I don't care that his game mate. That's got to stop because.
Do you think that's the way he's called though? Like, do you think? I think he's called. I don't know if he's called. Like, I don't think his game is called appropriately by the refs. It's
not, but and once again, we know that as fans, but you got to adjust because you can't get tonight. He got 2 fouls within 30 seconds. That can't.
I just think they're relying on him.
Against Embiid. That can't happen against Jokic. Like that can't happen against Giannis.
No, we're dead. We're dead if he leaves
but they're relying on him. So that's why we need more depth because they're relying on him solely for rim protection and solely for
bodies at him early. Yeah, you got to throw bodies at guys early.
Or
because
put somebody else on him. Put Holiday on somebody else. Then put Holiday on him because he did it to Randall. He's done it to Embiid. So maybe that's the key, and you have KP playing center field.
I think you're saying sort of a larger point though. Like there is worry sometimes that he does play like a fucking European pussy from time to time. Like I think like I think this might be an instruction, but like he's averaging like 6 rebounds. I would love that to be 8. You know, like I would really love that to be 8. And I know that we're like we're getting greedy now, obviously, and like we're deep into the fucking nitty gritty of the X's and O's of this team. It's been 8 games. I think he can average. I think that that's on purpose, and I think he can average 8 to 9 rebounds in the playoffs. And like you'll see a stat. You'll see a stat like regular season rebounding, playoff rebounding, and it's like, oh, I wonder why. Because it's like this matters more. You know what I mean? Like
but the reason why I feel like I'm not as I guess concerned about the rebounding, when you have your 6'5" guard, means Jrue Holiday, getting 7-8 rebounds a night himself. You got your
Marcus was a good rebounding guard, and we still looked really deficient around.
No, Jrue Holiday is a much better rebounder than Marcus Smart ever was.
Okay, but I think
Marcus Smart got them hustle rebounds when you needed them every now and then.
He's known as a good rebounding guard. Like since college, he's been a decent rebounding guard. You can't rely on your guards for those numbers.
It has to be all 5 guys though. It can't just be a big man. It has to be all 5 guys.
I think it needs to start with the big man. Maybe we just disagree philosophically on this, but like, and you might be right. I just think from my perspective, I think the rebounding has to start with the big man because it's about presence. Like I'm still traumatized by that Game 7 in the 2010 finals when Rasheed Wallace is standing underneath the basket and he can't get any fucking rebounds because it's not about the fact that you're, 9'4". It's about the fact that you have to develop a presence across the entire game underneath the basket. Like people have to be tired coming in there. You know what I mean? Like I like the guard hustle rebounds because they start breaks and like you can move fast and you can Golden State Warriors the whole thing. And I like those existing from an offensive perspective, but down the stretch in a big playoff series, in my personal opinion, maybe we disagree on this, but in my personal opinion, your bigs have to like just make it so that it's not worth it for you to try to, because we've just been getting people to like, we took offensive rebounds off the Nets tonight. Like people take offensive rebounds against us in big situations over the past few years. And like, that can't happen. You can't get like,
that's true. That's true.
And it's like Kristaps Porzingis is big enough that it's like, you can't come in and out hustle me. You're fucking 6'2". Like I have to kill you every time you try to come in here. Like that just has to be a rule. Right? Like that has to be a fucking like cemented in stone. Like if you're in there, like you have to get it over them. This isn't Europe, you little bitch. You got to get in there and fucking get those rebounds. I know that we don't want to get hurt in the regular season, but I would like to see it in the playoffs. Is that not fair?
I mean, I once again, and to add to that, he played 24 minutes tonight.
Yeah, totally. I'm not saying now. I'm not saying now.
I'm ecstatic. I love
it. Totally.
Yeah, I'm like So Handler was UPS package. Handler,
kick gloves. I get it. I understand.
I am loving how they've managed this minute.
No, I'm with you right now for sure. I just hope it can evolve. Is all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's gonna have to. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Brad's gonna have to readjust. Look, I mean, once again, I fully trust that he's looking with the
fully trust whatever he wants to do. I'm on board. Whatever he's thinking, he should do it.
Exactly. I still think they obviously they add one more big, and maybe the hidden thing is Kato once he's healthy, right? They don't need him right now, obviously, but I know he's someone that showed out in the preseason. And he's just another 7'1" guy, and he plays a little bit like how Rob did. It's also pretty alarming that it's a right stretch foot fracture. Okay, that to me that screams Sam Bowie. And for those that don't know that, if you know, you know, but look that up. He's the guy that went behind Michael Jordan in the '84 draft. I'm sorry,
before Michael Jordan. Before Michael Jordan.
So that's that. But I'm a little nervous about that. But yeah, getting another big or two, maybe one more wing, unless Brissett.
Brissett. Are we giving up? I wanted to bring up Brissett because are we giving up on him? You don't like him?
I don't like him at all.
I don't
think he does anything. I don't think he does anything.
I think eventually.
I don't like him, dude. I kind of like him. I think that he might have some.
I don't know. I just don't. I don't notice him. I just don't notice him unless
he played like
doing
3 minutes.
Bad.
Bob. He played like 3.
I just feel like every time he's out there, something bad happens. Every fucking time he makes an impact, it's a bad thing.
He doesn't have enough minutes, bro.
Well, I mean, also remember, the
I'm not big on O'Shea.
I see what you're saying.
Against Miami. Remember, Tatum said we won this game because O'Shea Brissett. When he came in the second quarter, he changed the game, and I think this team needs energy guys that are going to be that's not going to get you to 10, 15 points, but it's going to get you maybe 3 to 5 points, but also 4 to 5 key rebounds in a stretch. And I think eventually that's what Brissett becomes. I like Lamar Stevens. I know, DK brought him up. I know long before he assigned here as someone that could be a viable option at the backup. Gotta play them. Joe is not playing everybody.
Yeah, the rotation's pretty short right now.
That's the problem. And I get it because he is so
I understand.
Joe's like me. He's like, look, I'm trying to fucking win these games.
Yeah. He's still kind of in a job.
I can't try to figure out if you can play right now. I need to know if you could contribute. And I get that because I'm once again the teacher in me is like, look, either you have it maybe right now or you don't. So I can't sit here and just try to figure this shit out. So that that mindset, believe me, I understand more than most. However, if we're looking to preserve and persevere, right? We need to find a way to get them guys 10 to 12 minutes. But once again, it needs to be something where they're contributing positively and not taking away, as Bobby alluded to.
Wow. I honestly, I didn't think that we had this much Celtics in us, but
it's been a while. We had to unpack all our basketball.
There was a lot. Everyone had a lot of thoughts.
But that's why we went off on the tangents too, because we just got so much basketball that's just been circulating in these brains for like 10, 11 months.
It's also been it's like when do you start to shift your focus from the football season to the basketball season? And it's like, well, when your fucking Celtics are this good, you start to pay attention, and I think that we're all sort of getting a little bit excited. I mean, Ray dressed up as the parquet floor. That's how much he hated the fucking, like he was like parquet for life. He sent it subliminal messaging. It's a big part of how we're going to succeed. But on that note, listen, I know that we did end up sort of nitpicking. That doesn't mean that we're not all incredibly excited. We did start off this podcast saying essentially, like we were basically just fucking having an orgasm about Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis and the kind of ways that JB and JT are getting opened up and the way the team is set up. Do we have reservations and worries? Of course we do, because nothing's over till the fat lady sings. It ain't over till it's over. And we don't hang fucking banners for Jrue Holiday had a really great fucking 6 games around here in Boston. We hang banners for championships. So it's early in the season. We'll be back on MTP Boston to talk about this Celtics team in its current iteration and its future iterations. But man, if you're a Boston fan and you're trying to get on a bandwagon right now, this one might be going down the road a little bit. So for myself, for the real BK, Bob Kelly, for Hollywood Ray, I was at the game, Buchanan. Business or pleasure, this has been Missing the Point.
Are you a fan of classic cinema or a young person who wants to discover the best films of all time? Do these legendary movies still hold up?
On the Generation Film podcast, 2 guys who grew up when movies dominated the culture share a great film with a panel of young movie lovers and see how it plays for today's generation.
We discuss changes in storytelling styles, representation,
the making of each film, its initial reception, and how its meaning has changed over the years.
Join us as we explore cinema classics across generations on Generation Film.
Electricast.
Hey, it's Tim from 50 Years of Music with 50-Year-Old White Guys, the comedy podcast you had no idea you needed. Join Ben, Jeff, and me as we continue our musical road trip back through the years and around the globe. See, just when you thought all white guys were like Joe Rogan, you come across 3 educators trying to remember when we were cool.
50 Years of Music with 50-Year-Old White Guys.
Electricast. Electricast.